Welcome, YouTubers, once again to the Eastern Division of the Stinkbug Works. It's been a long day. I've got a lot done. I've got a lot done on this as well. I thought I'd share a couple of things with you about the drive shaft. In case you're building one of these, some thoughts and some things to keep in mind. So I've mounted my rudder on the block of wood that I installed here, and you see it's quite strong. Remember the last video, I had the drive shaft going through the step here to determine where to put the hole, and for the stuffing tube, and I've redone the hole, and I've got the stuffing tube in. And you see what I've done? I've glued the stuffing tube in place, and the motor's still out here. So I put the stuffing tube in before the motor. Normally in a boat, you put the motor in first and make the stuffing tube fit the motor. Well, not in this case, not with a straight shaft setup like I'm doing here. And the motor weighs less than the shaft. So here's the deal. When you're putting your shaft in, make your hole, get it in there. Make sure your shaft is square with the step. Even though the hull is asymmetric, underneath that lack of symmetry, there is a symmetric hull somewhere underneath here if I cut that off and cut that off. But I didn't. When I, produced this hole through here, I intentionally knocked a bit of foam out around the opening so I could fill that up with the non-expanding glue. In fact, that's what I'm using for this entire step. Gluing the shaft into here and gluing a brace. You need a vertical brace on this thing because it does carry a load, and I've learned you need a side brace on it too because it does get a load in that direction as you're skipping through a turn. So a brace and a brace. If you hit it hard enough, this will break, but it'll just break the glue joint and you glue it back on and it's all good. Okay, so what I've done is I'm using the shaft to position the motor, and what I'll do is I'll set the motor exactly where I want it. I'll get the run out and the play set up to where it's, advantageous. And then I'm just going to take a blob of hot glue and put a blob of hot glue here and a blob of hot glue there. Boom, my motor's in. For a final production run or a final competition model, I might put a little block of wood under there and glue it to the block of wood. But for now, I'm just going to put a blob of hot glue and call it good. Like I said, 9-gram servo, just glue it in place. I want to keep my linkage as far that way as I can, so I don't need to cut, a big notch out of the hatch here. I discovered that the airplane that this motor powers runs a 500 milliamp 1S battery. So each motor is seeing 1/3 of 500 milliamps. So, it's running on about 175 milliamps, powers this airplane for a good flight time. I'm going to run a 3S configuration with these in series, and I think I ordered a 450 milliamp battery, which means this thing can run a long time. It's hard to find a really small 3S battery. I might go and think about doing 3 1S batteries and put them in series. Just some thinking, wild ass thinking for you guys to consider. Here's another thing. I'm using a 2mm drive on this. MHZ used a 2mm drive on a bunch of their boats, and I think H&M may do it as well. And they used a 2mm shaft, and then they had a 4mm threaded end that would glue on with green sauce. These things are still available, and they're like $6 or $7 each. The problem is shipping them from Germany. So if you want some of these, you might as well buy a haul and then have some of these added with your purchase. MHC does make some really nice hauls, though. So it wouldn't be a bad deal. So anyway, I thought I'd fill you in on where we're at. We're about ready to glue this thing in. We're about ready to get things going. So tomorrow morning, we'll come in here to the Stink Bug Works. We'll clear everything off and we'll get ready for the next phase of construction, which will be the electronics. Until then, boys and girls, jet out.